Before I start this video, I just want to come out and say that this video is by no means a hit piece on Marvel Rivals. I honestly couldn't care less about the game because I don't really play it anymore, so it'd be stupid for me to whine and moan about a bunch of specific things in order to turn people away from the game. This video is purely about how Marvel Rivals, whilst still having a respectable player base, has had a massive fall from grace. Looking at Steam charts, one of the less accurate sources of statistics, the numbers have dropped drastically. They went from having 306,000 players at the start of the year all the way down to 85,000 on Steam alone, which is insane because the game's only been out for around 8 months. Compared to Overwatch, because yes, we have to compare it to Overwatch by law, it's baffling. Whilst, yes, Overwatch only came to Steam in 2023, it's consistently had around 25,000 or so players on Steam alone, which doesn't necessarily reflect the actual player count because a lot of players play on Battle.net. So, what caused the player base of Marvel Rivals to shift this dramatically and cause the game to take a turn for the worst? Well, it's a multitude of different things. For me personally, the way that NetEase went around managing comp was an absolute shit show. Combine the fact that you get demoted massively after every season with the fact that the game's matchmaking works off of engagement optimized matchmaking rather than skill-based matchmaking, and you have a recipe for disaster. Okay, quick update because the dev team decided to drop a bombshell right before I finished this video. It's like 7 AM at the minute. I have literally just woken up. But it turns out that Marvel Rivals does not use EOMM. They've actually confirmed it. Instead, they use a point-based system to evaluate both your team, the enemy team, and your personal performance in the match and the matches that you've played before. It's not direct skill-based matchmaking, as you can very easily boost this value by having a group made up of people in the higher ranks, hence why people in the highest ranks can't form proper groups for comp. This system is exactly why support players were getting less competitive points, as they're less likely to get kills and therefore are deemed less valuable players in terms of performance. So, at the end of the day, the system is still dog shit. Support players have to work twice as hard as DPS players to get a good evaluation, so they're naturally better at the game, yet they get paired with people that are supposedly as good as them. That's why sometimes it feels like there's an ELO agent in your matches. Because there somewhat is. Suddenly climbing the ranks started to feel a lot more like a chore rather than something you do for fun to see how far you can push yourself. Going back down to Silver 2 from Diamond 3 just put me off of playing comp entirely because it felt like I did all of that grind for nothing. What's the point of climbing the ranks to get into higher divisions only to be shot right back down to one of the lowest ranks in the game? It wasn't a skill issue either. Other players were complaining about this because the rank decay was egregious. Even players like Frogger made videos about how they were hard stuck plat because the matchmaking was so dogshit that climbing was like trying to draw blood from a stone. Bear in mind these players were in Grandmaster before the rank decay set in at the start of the season. If there's one surefire way to turn away your player base, it's by undoing all of their hard work and forcing them to play with teammates that'll only hold them back since they're nowhere near the same skill level as them or players on the enemy team. The balancing is just awful. Speaking of balancing, let's talk about the balancing of heroes because, oh my god, it is just awful. I'm not talking about the individual heroes because obviously the meta changes every patch because heroes get tweaked to be stronger or weaker than they were in previous patches and whatnot. But when I talk about balancing, I generally mean the disparity between the different types of heroes and rivals, both in terms of roles and playstyles. You might have seen my video Marvel Rivals has a hero problem a while back, in which I highlight that because the DPS role has a lot more heroes and therefore a lot more variety, more new players tend to elevate towards that role because they like being able to swap where necessary and still have the same primary goal of getting kills and making it easier to secure the objective. If one hero gets banned or someone else is playing said hero that you want to play, you can just play another hero that functions near enough the same way. If, for example, Wolverine gets banned, you can always just play Iron Fist, Magic, Spider-Man, Black Panther, or Blade. There is a lot of variety. Whereas if Magneto gets banned, you only really have a choice between Doctor Strange and Penny, the latter of which honestly isn't that great, so really you only have the choice of Doctor Strange. See what I mean? The balancing isn't the best when it comes to roles. It's fatiguing, and that's why I think a lot of players left. They got fatigued very quickly. You know when you get really into a specific hobby, so you do it constantly to the point where you start getting put off by said hobby because it's the same thing again and again and it starts getting boring after a while? Yeah, that's exactly what happened with Rivals. There was a lack of variety and people didn't like playing the exact same 3 maps over and over again, and they especially didn't like having to grind competitive again purely to get out of their shit elo. But here's the kicker. You will still be in shit elo because of EOMM. So the grind was absolutely pointless, and there is absolutely no reason to try and get into the higher ranks because you will get no real reward out of it. There's no real challenging match in the higher ranks. Your diamond matches are probably going to feel similar to how your silver matches felt because nothing is changing in the matchmaking. Does this mean that elo hell isn't a real thing in Rivals? No, because if you're in silver because of the rank decay, it could take you a while to get out of that rank because you get an absolute fucking creature on your team. It's a mess. With all that being said, I don't think Rivals is a bad game. I think it works well as a competitor to Overwatch, but it will never be this quote-unquote Overwatch killer that everyone made it out to be when it first released. Blizzard have made it apparent that they're packing their old shit in and actually making an effort now that they have a competition, which is great because it means that these games will constantly get better off of the back of each other. All Rivals really needs to be a better game is a hell of a lot more variety because the fatigue is setting in and it is setting in fast. The drop from 306,000 to 86,000 in a matter of, 7-8 months is absolutely insane. And I hope that by adding more variety to the game, more people are going to be encouraged to return to it and hopefully stay for a short while. Maybe they'll even pick up the game properly and get back into comp.
Like that's ever gonna happen. What a load.